are.
Yep, the white dragon.
The white dragon himself. Not wearing white today, but
Nope.
still in spirit.
Yes, and he actually has the red-green deck against red-blue deck. Now, we haven't talked about the red-green deck yet. What's in red-green deck, Foch?
Red-green is called the Armored Cleave deck, and this has your really tanky red heroes that also do a lot of attack, and also some kind of sustain and more kind of more, I guess, creeps and support from the green heroes. And now, even though this deck is called Armored Cleave, I think we've also prescribed it as the Zoo deck. There are a lot of creeps in this deck, and as you can see in the White Dragon's hand already, there is a Rebel Decoy, a Savage Wolf. He has 4 creeps in his hand right now. So I think a lot of the win conditions around winning with red and green is overwhelming your opponents with all of these wide lanes and many creeps.
Yep, and not only that, those creeps are pretty powerful. We see creeps like Ogre Conscript, which is a 7/2/7. We see probably Vanguard, which is kind of a wall, right? It's like a 0/8, but buffs your allies' armor as well. And I talked a little bit about armor, but let's actually define and explain exactly what armor is. Armor is another attribute that comes in between health and attack. Some heroes have it, some heroes don't. When you don't have it, you have 0 armor. And what armor does is reduce every single instance of damage that goes your way. So for example, if any spell cast says deal 4 damage and you have 2 armor, then you will only take 2 damage. If you have 3 creeps attacking you and they're all attacking you and they all have 2 attack and you have 2 armor, then you take 0 damage because every creep gets a little bit absorbed.
And you can see that with the Bristle in this lane right now. He has 2 armor because he killed Legion in that last lane because he was matched against him and has that passive ability to gain 2 armor every time.
Yep, and that's one of the powers of Bristleback. He has a passive, he gets there, but the big struggle for Bristleback is even though he has a lot of armor, he can get a lot of armor, has a lot of health, and a big number in the attack. He's not really good at making holes, and we saw that he had to TP it away because he was not really accomplishing much. Yes, he was killing a creep, and general will kill whatever is in front of him. But as long as a deck like, for example, the Zoo deck that can keep putting creeps in front of him over and over, it pretty much invalidates all the strength that Bristleback has.
That's right. And then I wanted to mention as well the one exception is piercing damage will actually ignore that armor.
Yes.
So things like Thunder God's Wrath, which does piercing damage, will actually just go through that armor and take effect on HP instead.
Yes, and that's one of the things that makes Blue really powerful. They have a lot of really good spells that go through armor. Thunder God's Wrath is one of them. Eclipse is the other one, which will deal 3 piercing damage for each charge to Eclipse. And the way Eclipse gains charges is by having Luna survive in the lane.
That's right. And it looks like our White Dragon here is going to do a Poised to Strike card. That's going to give him 4 bonus attack for this round. So that's a good kind of thing to get into there. It's going to be very explicit whether these spells take effect for this round or persist after death. So the keyword there is with modify.
Yes.
Currently, if you see in the White Dragon's hand, he has Divine Purpose, and that is modify a unit with damage immunity. And that's an effect that lasts even after your hero dies.
Yes, so of course if you put it into a creep and the creep dies, creeps die forever.
That's right.
But if you put it on a hero, even if that hero goes to the fountain and they say, how can you destroy something that has damage immunity? Well, spells like Coup de Grace that we saw before will be able to destroy something with damage immunity. But even then, when it comes back, it will come back still with the damage immunity.
That's right. And with Axe there, having that extra 4 temporary attack, he was able to take down that Zeus. So now he's back in the fountain and will be deployable in the next round.
Yes, and we also see one of the creeps here, Savage Wolf, which we talked about before, as a passive that gets +1 attack and +2 health every turn. The +2 health is particularly good because it will always absorb any melee creep damage. All melee creeps are 2 attack, 4 health. So not only will he eat melee creeps, he will never lose health from that, and he can only get bigger and bigger from there. Yep. Now, it starts as a 3/3 wolf that is pretty harmless, but if you get him out of control, and again, like against this Earthshaker that can only put 2 damage, he will only keep growing and growing. So probably our challenger Lincoln will have to spend at some point some resources to get rid of that wolf. Resources that he might want to spend elsewhere, but he has to stop that from getting out of control.
Right, that wolf, if you keep that unmonitored, it can get as strong as a hero.
Yes.
Wants to take over Lycan's role as the big wolf here.
Absolutely. So we have here some items. Stonehold Plate, Stonehold items in general, are, even though they're a little bit hard to read, the way you read these items is you get one armor in the case of the armor, and then you will get one more armor at the end of your combat phase every turn. Same for Stonehold Cloak with health and Stonehold Pike with attack. These are items that you want to see really early in the game, preferably turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, because the longer those items are there, the stronger your heroes will become. The downside, of course, is if you draw them later in the game, they're a little bit expensive for what they bring, and they won't have enough turns to develop into actually powerhouses.
That's right. If you can get those Stonehold items early, they'll just have compounding effects for you later.
Yep. And now we're seeing again that Lincoln has to make a decision of where to put this blue hero. And sometimes the answer is like, well, you want to put a blue hero where you don't have one, so maybe he would think about putting it in the middle. But he also realizes, hey, my Earthshaker is probably going to die next turn. So maybe he wants to put that blue hero there to ensure that there's one hero remaining once Earthshaker dies. He decides to go in the middle to have the option of playing that Eclipse in whichever lane he wants. The Eclipse, which by the way, because Luna hasn't died, has acquired 4 charges already, and now he draws a second Eclipse. So while Eclipse is not going to be super valuable in this lane, there's too many targets for it to be efficient. It's kind of like in Dota, right? You don't want to cast Eclipse in front of a lot of creeps. But it might be more valuable in this lane 3, for example, where there's only an axe and a lone creep. And that axe has armor, but as we said before, piercing damage from Eclipse doesn't care about armor.
That's right, and this lane is actually looking really scary for our challenger, as Lumi has put down another Savage Wolf, which we had mentioned has that that growing reactive ability where he gets +1 attack and 2 health after the combat phase.
Yeah, and Lumi understanding, you know what, I think I won this lane, even if I didn't win it this turn. There's 2 wolves, there's a Legion commander, a lot of things going out of control. I'm just gonna go and take one of the heroes away. We don't need him here, and it's more important for it to stay here. And now, yeah, this is a bit of a Hail Mary, right? Eclipse with 4 charges can only do so much, and probably not the most ideal situation, but our challenger feels pressured that he has to stop all of those that attack coming. So using it a little bit inefficiently, trying to hope for a hero kill. It doesn't get it, and in exchange, a much more valuable Berserker's Call gets used by Luminous. Berserker's Call can target an ally red hero and have him fight everyone that is around him.
That's
right. Let's see.
Oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that Conflagration, I'm not sure if we mentioned that earlier, but it's a very strong card, great for putting it down in any lane where you feel like you're getting overwhelmed by a wave of creeps. That Conflagration was put down, I believe, in the previous turn. It has a turn 5, or sorry, a 5 mana improvement, and at the start of every turn before the action phase, it does 2 damage to all the enemies in that lane.
Yep, and Lumi threw Lincoln off a little bit. He was ready to cast an Eclipse, but because Luminous had priority, that means that he gets to cast the first spell in that lane. He played the 7/7 Ogre Conscript, and suddenly that 5 charge Eclipse, which would have killed Axe, turned into a 50-50.
Yeah.
And at that point, you don't want to risk it. So he decided to actually just swap, make sure that Luna doesn't die, keep her alive, gain more charges in that Eclipse, sacrifice a crit instead, and live to fight another day.
That's right, yeah, this is looking pretty tough for our challenger. There's not too many ways to deal with all those creeps aside from Echo Slam on turn 7, so he may want to consider, since Lumi does have initiative, a way to maybe still be able to cast that Echo Slam in the first lane to preserve his tower.
Right.
But it's looking pretty tight. We might see a Berserker's Call come out from Lumi just to make sure that Earthshaker cannot cast that Echo Slam in that lane.
Echo Slam would be scary. Echo Slam would now do 7 damage with this 6 units in the lane plus the 7th one coming, and that would wipe pretty much everything out except for that Legion commander, whose 1 armor would prevent him just barely from dying. There's also Fissure coming online from Earthshaker, and again, Luminous retains initiative, and that is such an important thing to understand. I think our challenger is could be using a little bit more of that to be able to deny that. And again, talking about initiative, we didn't finish our thought before. You play a spell, your opponent plays a spell. You play a spell until you pass, and then passing essentially gives you initiative. Meaning, if you don't have a really good play to play, sometimes it's good to just not do anything and pass, because by passing, you're regaining initiative, and you're now putting the pressure on the other player. Luminous, in that last lane, played the Ogre Conscript, and then our challenger decided, well, I'm gonna play a cunning plan. But by playing that cunning plan, he lost initiative and let Lumi be the one that has the first action in the next turn. So Lumi passed, keeping initiative, went to that first lane, and got to act first.
Exactly. Even though he saved that Luna with that cunning plan, maybe it was more worth it for him to just let Luna die and then go to the first lane so he can ensure that he had the first initiative and also be able to cast that Echo Slam.
Right. But again, those are like some nuances of the game, and you get them, you start understanding them better the more you play the game. This is one of actually like really complex things, but they get more and more interesting and deeper. And we've seen a lot of high-level play in some tournaments where everyone is like, it is a battle for initiative.
That's right, yeah.
Sometimes you see people not playing a spell for 2 lanes because it's more important to see who gets to cast something first and third lane rather than whatever happens the first 2. And we can see that Pugna getting out of control with the armor. We talked about that whole armor item. Now getting to 4 armor
now. He has more armor than his Bristleback.
Yep. And the Divine Purpose now falls into Farbrand, the Dreamer, making him immune to damage. So another problem for that Eclipse, and this is actually really important because Eclipse will hit units, and when a unit when a unit dies, the unit will die immediately and will not hit again a unit that has died. But anything with damage immunity can technically absorb infinite Eclipse charges. So making that Eclipse a little bit useless here, and also diminishing the power of the Thunder God's Wrath, which does 4 piercing damage to each enemy hero in that lane. Of course, damage immunity prevents that. So only getting 1 kill on the Pugna from that
the piercing damage, yeah. Even though Pugna had that 4 armor, again, piercing damage ignores that, and since he had less than 4 health, he was able to be picked off.
Yep, and now facing a lot of pressure both in the first and the third lane. Our challenger Lincoln has to decide, where do I put my heroes? Where do I deploy my stuff?
Ooh, and if you look this time, with that arrow up on that mini-map in the top left here, the White Dragon, again, has initiative.
Yes, and again, this was because of that Thunder God's Wrath spell that was played in the last lane. Had he not played the Thunder God's Wrath, he would be able to use the first spell here and like maybe cast that Echo Slam and destroy everything in this lane, or mostly everything in this lane. However, because Luminous has no red cards in hand, he has to pass. And in this case, actually, having initiative doesn't matter. He gets the Echo Slam, he clears the lane, and he actually puts some pressure on that tower.
That's right, but unfortunately for him, that lane has already popped in, is exposing the Ancient, so Lumi only needs to take 1 more tower in order to win. So if Lumi wants to develop that lane again, he would have to devote a lot of resources. It's likely that he will instead look for his win condition to be another lane. For example, the last one where he does have quite a lot of creeps coming in, as well as that Ogre Conscript.
Yes, and our challenger has Time of Triumph in hand. Time of Triumph, a card that makes all of your heroes in lane really, really powerful, giving them attack, armor, health, cleave, retaliate, and siege. However, you want to cast this spell whenever you have a lot of heroes in a lane, right? Like 2 is ideal, 3 is fantastic, 4 or more is just amazing.
Have you ever seen the 5 hero Time of Triumph?
No, that doesn't exist. That's a legend.
That one, I would love to see that here.
Yes.
That animation is amazing too. Look at that. That's a big keef.
One of the powerful things about that is not only how strong it makes it, now we have 2 damage immune heroes, but also the fact that among all the things that Time of Triumph gives, one of them is Siege, meaning that the hero will no longer care if they are blocked. They will still do 4 damage to the tower every turn. And Time of Triumph is one of those cards that puts you on a timer, right? Like whenever you see the opponent has Time of Triumph, you know that you have to win fast or you're going to lose, just because those 4 damage from every hero will bleed you out sooner rather than later.
That's right. With Keef, even if you block him, even though see that axe in front of him, it's basically a wall. At this point, it's damage immune, but Keef is still going to be doing 6 damage to that tower, or sorry, 4 damage with that siege every time, even though axe is in front of him. And lucky for our challenger, 2 creeps are actually going to that last lane. They know the third lane needs help. So they sense it. They know Keef will lead them to victory.
Yes, but of course, there's also some answers in Lumi's hand. He has the Blade of the Vigil. He actually drew a duo, a fantastic card that will allow you to fight one of your heroes, and all of his heroes, his red heroes, for example, Axe, who is damage immune, fight any unit in the lane before going to combat. So he could, for example, choose to fight this axe against this creep, thus opening 13 damage into the board and getting him really, really close from beginning to winning this game.
Right, and I think what our challenger should really consider right now is getting initiative for that last lane. He has that middle lane here with a bristleback. It's possible, like, he could still play some spells here, but if he wants to really win that last lane or also like have the first turn, he may want to consider just passing so that he guarantees that initiative.
Well, there's something even more scary. We kind of forgot the lane 2, and the lane 2, there's a lot of pressure coming from
oh,
me
yeah.
as well. And
damage.
actually, we could be seeing that jewel being used with that Pugna to destroy that bristleback. And yeah, I see our challenger understands that he got a blink dagger, an item from the shop that allows you to teleport to another lane, and he concedes initiative to try to stop that, and immediately the duel happens. The duel will have that Pugna fight against that Zeus, killing that Zeus that just teleported there. But had he not done that, he would have fought the bristleback, destroyed the bristleback, and the game would have been over. So getting a little bit more time.
That's right, that was very crucial.
Unfortunately for him, there's a lot of resources. There's the Rebel Decoy that is going to come.
Another creep, so if there's something...
Well, the Rebel Decoy can swap, so he could swap the Rebel Decoy with the Ogre Conscript, and that would make this match.
That's right, and he has, on top of that, as a Zoo deck, he has all these creeps in his hand. So unfortunately, there's not many answers as a blue-red deck to block Lumi's assault with all these creeps.
Yep. And Savage Wolf come to add insult to injury. Also the Blade of Vigil. Wow, Lumi
yes,
with the
that second lane. We
Come
were looking
on,
at the
Lumi.
third
Come
one.
on,
but
Lumi.
oh man, the second lane is brutal.
Oh, he heals the bristleback, Lumi. That's not sportsmanlike.
That was really close though. I think our challenger played very well. Let's give it up for Lincoln. It's an amazing game. Yeah,